In December of 1933, the Duke Chapel Choir performed selections from Handel's Messiah, and a beloved Duke University holiday tradition was born. Although the COVID-19 pandemic has altered the nature of this year's Messiah presentations, members of the Chapel Choir reflected on why the tradition endures, even during challenging times like these.
Sung four seasons of the Messiah under three different conductors. And my favorite thing to do in the whole world is to sing with an orchestra. My favorite part of the Messiah is when the baton drops, because each time we sing it, it's completely different, transformative, and truly heartfelt.
The orchestral strains of the Sinfonia, which I love, as soon as that sound hits my ears and we're all in the stand and everything is quiet, it's like it's like, this is the moment. We are in this space now. We are here to send a message and to share a story, and you should sit up and listen because it's well worth it.
The tenor comes in with the first words of Messiah, which are sung almost with no orchestra at all. And he says, "Comfort ye." And every time I hear that on the first performance of Friday night, I can feel everything just kind of open up and let go. And my heart eases and my breathing stills. And I think, this is why I've done all this work. And I'm going to leave all that stress behind now and concentrate on the fact that I'm here, God is here, my choir is here, and this is what Christmas is.
The greatest thing I think about the Fugues is that we all have something interesting to do, and we all have something great to listen to. So I can sing my part, I'm an alto, but then there's all of this wonderful stuff going around in all the other voice parts.
It was my first performance with Messiah. It was with the orchestra, and it was the Mozart version. And I'll never forget that first rehearsal with the orchestra, and the horns started playing, and everyone in the choir went, "What was that?" Because they've never heard the horns play, because they've never done the Mozart. And to me, it was the most normal thing.
It was one of our early rehearsals, and we were going through the "And He Shall Purify" chorus, and Zeb was trying to explain his pronunciation to us, and he said, "I want you to say purify, like a church pew, or a Star Wars sound, so pew 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 pew." So for the rest of my life, every time I sing "And He Shall Purify," I am going to hear Zeb in my head making Star Wars noises.
Thy rebuke has broken his heart. And what happens there is there are four little tenor sections that talk about the death of Jesus, that complement the four little sections that everyone knows that the soprano sings in the first part that talk about the birth of Jesus. And the music major in me was just blown away by the harmonic shifts that Handel suddenly pulls out of the bag, as if he's been totally restrained up to this point. But now, when it's really emotional, he's going to pull out all these extra things, these twisting harmonies and unexpected resolutions that really open up my heart in terms of the grief that's at that moment in the music.
So my favorite musical moment in the Messiah is the last choral movement, "Worthy is the Lamb." It's such a joyous end of a piece, but also it's the culmination of all of our work, each performance, and also sort of as the culmination of our fall semester, our Christmas season.
I like to sing Amen, just because it goes so fast and it's so exciting, and it's a race, and it seems like all of us are going faster.
And our final year singing it with Rodney, and it was the moment when he brought us in for Worthy, and it was just that torrent of sound and emotion, and it just blew him back. And I don't know, just that was a crystallization of how much power was in the music, how much power was in the way we sing it together. And it's a snapshot in my mind.
The choir has always felt like my congregation. I've joined the congregation at Duke Chapel, but the choir has always felt like my congregation. And knowing how much those people are my friends and love me is really wonderful.
A relationship of mine that has been strengthened by my singing of the Messiah is that with my grandpa, my pap. I sang Messiah the first time last year, and for Christmas last year, he gave me his score of the Messiah. It's got rehearsal notes from performances in 1981 and 1992, and I cherish it a lot.
It is a joy to sing in the beautiful tradition of singing Messiah every year in the chapel, and it's a special joy to me to be able to sing it with my son, Craig.
In the meantime, we were all juggling our books because we were terrified of exams. So we're heading into exams. So we all had books hidden in pockets underneath our robes, and we didn't want Ben certainly to see that we were going to study. And my partner in crime sitting next to me was Carrie Pidcock, who grew up to become the mother of the Reverend Catherine Lester Bacon, who is now on the chapel staff. So life certainly comes full circle.
Having been in the audience at Duke Chapel before, and then being out facing the audience to perform, it's a completely different perspective, because when you're in the audience, you're just looking at the choir. But to be in the choir and look out and see their reaction to a shift in the music or a favorite piece, I mean, you just see people's face light up, and to see their emotion is a beautiful part of the performance too.
As the choir is getting ready to sing, as we're walking out to the risers, I love looking at the audience members, and even the ones that are sitting on the sides, and thinking, you're not even really going to be able to see the choir, and yet you came here and have dedicated an entire afternoon in December to this, which always makes me really happy.
Something where I knew that 1,000 people had come together to hear again the story of redemption. And when that tenor begins, comfort me, it's sort of like, hey, everybody, pay attention here. A little like the teacher getting control of the room, because I need you now to quiet your mind and open your heart and listen to this ancient story again.
Well, 3 times in my life, singers have joined our choirs, including the ones here at Duke Chapel. They come from other lands, other cultures, other faiths, people for whom English is a second language. As we began rehearsal on Handel's Messiah, I casually asked if they knew the story about which we were singing. Puzzled looks. No, they didn't know the background. Each accepted my offer for lunch or tea and a busy 90 minutes to talk through Messiah. But revealing these stories, the connections, it's truly eye-opening, not only for them, but for me as I think through it, as I do it. For them, suddenly the music and the lyrics become clear and bright, and they participate with new gusto and energy. And I get to watch them and enjoy it in the rehearsals and then in the performance, and I can just see the light, the warmth.
When I auditioned for the chapel choir the first time, my audition was a disaster. And so Rodney took me aside and he said, your audition was a disaster. He said, but I think that maybe you have more to show. So how about this? How about a provisional acceptance into the chapel choir? And then we will check back in about a month. And I walked in. He said, it's so good to see you. Are you ready to sing? I said, yeah. He said, well, let's do it. I said, okay, what do you want me to sing? He said, I want you to sing the bass part in The Preachers. And so I said, okay, maestro. if you can play it, I can sing it. And so at the end, he said, that was great. You're in.
I wanted to say, I think it's especially important this year that we're able to do Messiah in some form or the other. There is so much uncertainty and so much upheaval and unhappiness and grief that I think this is a stabilizing force, and that people in the community will be soothed by this and will find peace. And that's just so critical this year.
It keeps us engaged and keeps us feeling like we still have a purpose even in these tough times. And I'm glad that we can get our music out there, if not in a direct manner, in these virtual ways that we are doing now. So
our soprano soloist that we've had often, Mary Wilson, who's just wonderful, is somebody that I knew when she was in college, and she's a little bit of a spitfire back in college, but then she came and started singing, and she's amazing. And after one of the performances, I went up to her and said, Mary, this is just so amazing, and I love to hear you sing it, and I love that you're so part of this and that you seem so engaged. And she said, and I said, it's just amazing. And she said, I'm singing what I believe. And I thought, that's exactly what I have been doing.
My first time hearing the Messiah at Duke was my freshman year in 1976, which was terrific and wonderful. And I so wanted to be in the choir, and I didn't get in then, so I'm delighted I'm in now. But one interesting thing about it is I'm a legacy. And so my dad, who was a little older when he got married and had me, my sister and I, he started attending Duke in 1932 when they were still building the chapel, putting the stained glass windows in, and so attended the first Messiah in 1933 at Duke Chapel. So I think that is, it just comes full circle, as we were just talking about.
This choir has such a powerful love for the members in it and the extended members. We include, the organists and the soloists in that. It's just such a strong, powerful love. I have to believe that is transmitted, whether it's consciously or subconsciously, to people who are experiencing that.